Welcome back to the Live, Build, Change Morning Mindset edition of the podcast. You can find out more about what this whole Live, Build, Change is about at livebuildchange.com. You know, in the last handful of episodes, we've been talking about the Proverbs in general and how they represent the approach that Solomon took to wisdom and how we apply wisdom in practical ways in daily living. And we discussed how a proverb, the very nature of it, is that it is general. It is a general guideline, a general saying that is helpful in most situations in life. And by saying most, we have to realize there's an inference there that it's not always applicable. A given proverb, in essence, is not always applicable to every situation in life. It's because it's general in nature. It doesn't speak to the specifics of a particular situation. But the reason I bring that up is because I want to look at Proverbs chapter 6, at a passage that's often used to talk about the issue of debt. And it's a powerful warning. It really is, from the perspective of wisdom. Let me read it to you. It's Proverbs 6, verses 1 through 5. And you'll hear people like Dave Ramsey talking about this quite often. It says, "My son, if you have put up security for your neighbor, if you have shaken hands in pledge for a stranger, you have been trapped by what you said, ensnared by the words of your mouth. So do this, my son, to free yourself, since you've fallen into your neighbor's hands. Go to the point of exhaustion and give your neighbor no rest. Allow no sleep to your eyes, no slumber to your eyelids. Free yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like a bird from the snare of the fowler." Now that passage is speaking about co-signing, so to speak, in our modern vernacular. It's saying, along with someone who's seeking to go into debt, I will pledge that I will cover this debt if this other person who's signing for the debt cannot. It really is about co-signing. It is saying when you do that, you have been trapped by what you said. In other words, the agreement has bound you to be a person of your word, a person of integrity, to cover the debt of someone else. Not your own debt, someone else's debt. That's what this is talking about. And it's saying if you have done that, the wise thing to do is to free yourself. And he goes through all kinds of explanations, extreme ones, to say how important it is that you get out of that situation. You should allow no sleep to your eyes. You should go to the point of exhaustion. You should do everything you can to free yourself. An example he gives is like a gazelle that's running from the hand of the hunter, or like a bird that's trying to get away from the snare of a fowler, a bird hunter. That's how you're to be when it comes to this kind of co-signing. And I can't tell you how vitally important this is. So often we take a cavalier attitude to debt and to co-signing for various people, especially if it's someone in our near relations, in our family. We would say, oh yeah, I'll co-sign for you, no problem. But the problem is this. You are essentially signing your integrity over to a future you cannot control. I mean, yes, you may have the ability today to cover that monthly payment if the other person couldn't for some reason. But do you know that ability is going to be carried on throughout the future? You really don't. And the same thing could be said for actual debt of your own. We have to be very careful when it comes to debt. I don't think the Bible ever says you should never take on debt. But it does say you have to be very careful, very wise about it. Because like this passage teaches, it can ensnare you, it can trap you. And because you are not in control of the future, you could be signing yourself up for a lot of heartache, especially if the person you're co-signing for turns out not to be very trustworthy. This is an example of the kind of wisdom that the Proverbs give. You may find circumstances where it doesn't exactly apply because the circumstances are different, but you have to be very careful when assessing that. Get counsel. Let's talk again tomorrow on the Morning Mindset as we continue in Proverbs chapter 6.